It was 4 a.m. on the 16th of August, 2025. The air was still, the sky black, only the sound of insects breaking the silence along Burkina Faso's southern border. But then, headlights. One, two, then dozens. A long convoy of trucks crept slowly down back roads, moving like a silent snake through the night. 57 trucks, each one heavy, each one guarded. At first glance, nothing seemed out of place. Aid shipments often came through these routes, or at least that was the excuse. But something was wrong. Something felt off. Who delivers aid at midnight? Who risks rugged backroads instead of taking the main highway? Captain Musa Kabore, leading the border patrol that night, sensed it instantly. The sheer size of the convoy, the hour of its movement, the way it avoided populated areas, all of it screamed danger. He radioed headquarters immediately.
Sir, this doesn't feel like humanitarian aid. This is something else.
Within minutes, the alarm reached President Ibrahim Traoré himself. The young leader had faced countless threats since taking power, but this was different. 57 trucks moving in secrecy. If Kabore was right, Burkina Faso could be staring at its greatest danger yet. Traoré did not hesitate.
Intercept that convoy, he ordered General Ibrahim Zerbo, commander of the Special Forces. But be careful, this may be bigger than we think.
In the darkness, preparations began. Helicopters lifted off quietly, drones rose into the night sky, and elite units moved into position. Every second mattered. Every decision could decide the fate of the nation. By the time the convoy reached the ambush point, Burkina Faso's forces were ready. Roads were blocked, surrounding hills were manned. Eyes from the sky tracked every vehicle. At exactly 4 a.m., the trap was sprung. The trucks screeched to a halt, drivers panicked, some tried to flee, others froze in place. Shouts filled the air as soldiers swarmed the vehicles, and then came the moment of truth. The first truck was opened. Inside, stacked beneath sacks disguised as aid supplies, were rifles, row after row, crate after crate, AK-47 SM-16S grenade launchers, rockets, explosives, a full-blown military arsenal hidden in plain sight. The shock hit like a thunderbolt. If even one truck had slipped through, the damage could have been catastrophic. But this wasn't just one truck, it was 57. Every single one packed with weapons of war. Captain Kabore, staring at the cargo, could hardly believe it.
Mr. President, you need to hear this. These trucks aren't carrying aid, they're carrying an army.
When the full inventory was counted, the numbers were staggering. 25,000 AK-47S, 10,000 M16S, 13 million rounds of ammunition, 70,000 grenades, 2,500 rocket launchers, 400 anti-aircraft missiles, 50 tons of explosives, the value over $700 million. This wasn't smuggling, this was preparation for war. Someone, somewhere, was planning to drown Burkina Faso in chaos. Traoré convened an emergency meeting with his Security Council. The atmosphere was tense, thick with disbelief and anger. Defense Minister General Sadu looked at the numbers and shook his head.
With this firepower, you could invade an entire country.
Interior Minister Hussein Karore's voice was darker still.
If these weapons had reached the wrong hands, Burkina Faso would already be in flames. This was not about money, this was about overthrow.
The investigation began immediately. The drivers were interrogated one by one. Most swore they didn't know what they were transporting. They said they were told the trucks carried agricultural equipment, but as the pressure grew, cracks began to show. One driver broke first. His hands trembled, his eyes filled with fear.
We were told to deliver to warehouses in Togo. From there, they would go overseas.
But further digging revealed the truth. The trucks weren't headed out of Africa. They were bound for Ouagadougou, the capital itself. That revelation changed everything. The plot was no longer about smuggling weapons. It was about arming factions inside the country. And those factions were preparing for something far darker. A coup. Raids swept across the capital. 23 warehouses were stormed simultaneously. 17 of them were filled with hidden weapons, ready to be distributed. The suspects arrested included businessmen, ex-ministers, even retired generals, all of them united by one thing, their opposition to President Traoré. And then came the confession that shook the nation. Francois Bongo, a wealthy businessman and one of the arrested ringleaders, finally cracked under pressure. His words spilled out, raw and heavy.
This wasn't just about weapons. We had foreign support. Meetings were held in Accra, in Abidjan. Orders came from Paris. We received the green light from Washington. The goal was clear. Remove Traoré, replace him with a puppet.
The room fell silent. Traoré leaned forward, his voice steady but sharp.
Which foreign powers?
Bongo's voice cracked.
They called it Operation Restore Democracy, $700 million. The weapons were only phase 1.
The details were chilling. Stage terrorist attacks, create panic, mobilize opposition groups, use traitors in the army to ignite a coup. It was a blueprint for destroying a nation, but it had failed. Because one patrol spotted something unusual in the night. Because a young president refused to hesitate. Because Burkina Faso had acted before it was too late. 3 days later, Traoré stood before the nation. Behind him, the mountain of captured weapons rose like a monument to danger. He faced the cameras, his voice strong, his words unflinching.
My fellow Burkinabe, and to the world, this was not smuggling. This was war disguised as aid, but we stopped it. They thought Africa was asleep, but we are wide awake.
The images stunned the world. Mountains of rifles, stacks of missiles, crates of grenades, proof of a conspiracy too big to ignore. Then, in front of tens of thousands of citizens in Independence Square, Traoré made his promise.
These weapons will not rot in storage. They will not be recycled for war. They will be melted, transformed into schools, hospitals, and irrigation canals. Tools of death will become tools of life.
A giant cauldron was rolled onto the stage. Before the cheering crowd, the first rifle was dropped into the fire, the metal melted, poured into a mold, and emerged as something new, a school bell. Traoré held it high.
Every morning, when our children hear this bell, they will hear the sound of peace.
Tears filled the eyes of the people. An elderly man wept openly.
They wanted to kill our grandchildren with these weapons.
A young woman shouted through her sobs.
If it wasn't for Traoré, we would already be in war.
The people roared. The nation stood taller. And a message was sent to the world. Burkina Faso will not be a puppet. Africa will not kneel. What began as 57 trucks of hidden weapons became something far greater, a turning point in history. The night they were stopped, Burkina Faso didn't just save itself. It lit a fire of resistance across the continent. But one question still lingers. If those trucks had passed unnoticed, if those weapons had reached their destination, what would Burkina Faso look like today? Would the streets of Ouagadougou be filled with gunfire? Would the flag of the nation have fallen? Would the dream of independence be gone forever? Instead, the answer is clear, because at 4 a.m., when danger came quietly across the border, the people of Burkina Faso refused to be silent, and in that refusal, they found victory.